free. Spirit. And
Well, everybody wants to know when.
people say, oh, it's whole firm line. My whole firm line.
Yeah, no.
So he was right under you. He just thinks that. But I like those. Oh, personal parallels. I love those. I mean, they're very spiritual. Just kind of have their own things. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. Did they say? Yeah. That's awesome. Oh, awesome. Love that. But I said, oh man, after the conference, oh, you're so good with this. And I was like, I'm glad he's up there. Well, you have eyes in the back here. I find that one thing he likes to do, take the medicine, but nonetheless, is I give him a couple of dollars for throwing it in the basket. He likes doing that, so I kind of have to, type that up. All right. And for community, come on, that'd be good. I don't trust him enough yet to just want to walk.
I do.
Yeah. It's not at all. I have them. It actually makes it like a low cardio workout. So you can stay here, run away. You can take the little one, part of the
Call this meeting to order. Will those in attendance please rise? Join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome all of our friends and neighbors and colleagues in joining us in this regularly scheduled July 18th, 2022 City Council meeting. As you come in tonight, the door, which would be to my right, to all of your left, there's a desk. On that desk, there's a sign-in sheet. If you're visiting with us tonight, please sign yourself in. I also want to let you know, my computer's acting up. I was trying to get the agenda on this, so I'm going to have to read it from my phone. So if you see me up here squinting or it takes me a little longer to read it, the font size is about that big. So have some patience, please. City Clerk, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilperson Soha.
Present.
Reiner.
Here.
Beer. Morrissey. Sharp.
Here.
Stuchel.
Here.
Pratt. Sizer.
Here.
And Mayor Stockford.
Here.
We have 7 present, Mayor.
Thank you, Katie. There was correspondence between Councilman Beer and I. He's not going to be here tonight. I don't know about Cynthia. We'll move into approval agenda. I have a couple changes to make to the agenda. We need to remove item H, DPS street sweeper purchase, from the consent agenda. And, excuse me, not the consent agenda, from new business. And also add an item to the consent agenda, Jennifer Wagner Park use agreement for Stocks Park. And we will add that in as item number L, item letter L on the consent agenda. Does any other council members have any changes to make to the package tonight? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to amend the agenda.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Sharp. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Reiner, was it? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We have an agenda. We'll move into public comment on agenda items only. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium. And please ensure if you're commenting at this particular public comment section that you are discussing something that's directly connected to something that's present on the agenda tonight. Podium's now open. Seeing no public comment, we will close the agenda. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda, we've got approval of bills, city BPU claims, June 16th, June 30th, payroll of June 23rd, July 7th, city council minutes of June 20th, finance committee meeting minutes of April 4th, April 18th, May 2nd, May 16th, June 6th, and June 20th, EDC minutes of April 19th, Brownfield redevelopment minutes of June 21st, library board minutes of May 20th, May 26th, and June 9th, street closure requests for the Hillsdale Business Association Summer in the City event. It's really exciting stuff. Hillsdale Business Association's 2022 Summer in the City Use of Street Agreement. Hillsdale College has 2 alley closures and noise variance requests for a source event and a welcome party. And then Hillsdale College has a street closure request for freshman convocation. And then Jennifer Wagner has a park use agreement to use Mrs. Stocks Park for a wedding reception on Saturday, July 23rd. And she has the insurance for it, with the city named as an insured party. So that's been reviewed by the city attorney, everything's good there. Any questions or discussions about something present on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Give me one moment to get caught up in my packet on my phone. As we move into communications petitions. Get close. Okay, we will move into item A, communications petitions. It's from Keith O'Neill. It's just regarding reading emergency. Item B, Hillsdale County Public Safety Radio Project. Chief, did you have anything to add to that?
We have.
There.
Oh, hey, sorry, buddy.
That's fine.
All right,
I'll
take it
run
away,
next
sir.
time. I don't want to take up much time on your hands tonight, but I wanted to come back, again, introduce myself to you guys. I told you the last time I was here that I was going to try to come more frequently. Today, what I brought, and I sat on your table prior to you guys getting here, was our response times for Hillsdale City. So the response times that we're reporting is from January 1 to the end of June, so half a year. And our average response time is 6 minutes and 24 seconds, and that was over a time of 452 calls within your city. We're still continuing to try to increase our response times to you guys. We are well within the Hillsdale County contract at this time with that, but we are still trying to increase our response times. The biggest deal that's with our response times is we're calculating everything, so it's an assault. You know, if we got a stage, if our unit can't go directly there, if we're running non-emergent, it means we're not having lights and sirens on, which we do a lot of times. We won't turn our lights and sirens on. It delays our response times. Usually the fire department will always get there first. Then again, you know, they run, I think, pretty much emergent to pretty much every call, where we do not. The big calls are the ones where, you know, cardiac arrest, something of that nature that needs, required to real, you know, in a timely fashion, will respond. But other than that, is there anything that you would like to talk to me about or address, or is there anything I can answer and get back to you, or?
Any questions from Mr. O'Neill?
Can I?
Go ahead.
There's been instances in the past where we've had like a CPR in progress, and you guys were in here, we had a call at Somerset or somebody else far away respond to Hillsdale. When we had this thing years back, we passed this, village. That was one of the things you guys promised us, we'd have more ambulance availability and stuff. Not you, but in the
Right.
past. And it's still a concerted question sometimes. I know their dream was that we would have an ambulance run out of our fire department, but that's probably never gonna happen. I mean, this cost factor won't really hit the city hard. But it's just, could you answer what, I know you guys do a lot of transport people to other hospitals and stuff, I understand that.
So we have done some operation changes since I've taken over. If you look at the Hillsdale County contract, it identifies an ALS ambulance. It just identifies one. It doesn't identify two or three. I know in the past, when they did this millage, from the stories that I've been told, they were kind of talking about how they're gonna have 3 ambulances. The goal is to have 3 ambulances. At this time, we're running 2 24/7. The one car sits in Hillsdale City, the other one's in Reading. Them are our 2 highest call volume areas, so we have them staged there. Our Litchfield station, we will move people up there if they want overtime. If we can get people that wants extra overtime, we put them up in the Litchfield station. So that's hit or miss up in there. But what happens where we've had changes is on a normal transfer. So back in the day, they used to handle a lot of transfers out of the hospital. We're doing 500 to 600 a year right now. So if we only have 1 ALS ambulance, we will not take any non-emergent transfers. We pass them off, we tell them they have to wait. We keep 1 ambulance available at all time, 1 paramedic ambulance available. That's our goal when we have 1 ambulance working. Or if the other's gone on another call, we won't take it. What was getting us in the past is the stat transfers. The stat transfers are when the hospital has a critical patient, or what has happened is if they have a patient that they want out of there, they'll call the dispatch center and tone us out as an emergent transfer, and then our last unit would have to leave. So we would technically, when I first started working here as a medic, we would leave and there's no ambulances in Hillsdale covering our service area, minus our mutual aid contracts that we would have, which is with Somerset and Hudson, also multiple other agencies. So what we've changed here recently was if there is a stat transfer, we went through our legal advisor, because they try to treat it as a 911 call. So the biggest push is if you call a stat transfer, we could never turn it down. But it's a hospital, they have physicians, they have nurses, respiratory therapy techs, they have godly amount of people there, but when somebody dials 911, there's no one at their home. So what we did is we got with our legal, we looked at it, how we can go about it. The only contract we hold is with the city or with the county with our village money, and we have to ensure service. So as there's a national shortage in EMS professionals, everywhere you go, timeframes are amping up, and you don't know if you're gonna get somebody to respond from Hudson. They might be on a call themselves. You don't know if you're gonna get a car from Somerset because they might be in Jackson County or on their own call. You don't know. So we're ensuring now that we will have a ambulance, at least 1 ALS ambulance available for the county. So we're not telling the hospital we're not going to do it. What we're telling them is we're turning it down. You can tone out the rest of the county. And then when our truck comes back to be available so we can ensure coverage, then we'll take the next transfer out. But you have to look at these transfers. That's a big topic. It's been a topic of discussion for years prior to me even coming in here. And you have to look at it in the sense of, if you're having a heart attack right now, you go to Hillsdale Hospital, anybody in this room, if they went to Hillsdale Hospital, if they could not handle you, what's the next step? They have to take you out of the area. They have to take you to a hospital that can service what's going on. Traumatic arrest, anything serious that they can't handle, we have to ship. That's how we get 500 to 600. And that's light because Somerset does transfers. Hudson really doesn't. They'll come in and do a couple local, going back to their area. But that's each service's decision to make. We have a critical care ambulance as well, so we're the only service that offers critical care. So if a patient's on a vent, multiple drips, chest tubes, we are the only agency that will take those transfers. So when you have somebody over there that can't even breathe on their own, or they were in cardiac arrest and they got them back, the next step is another hospital, and we're the agency that's gonna take them if they're not flying. And the odds are they won't be flying. That's just how it works. People like to think a helicopter will come get you. That's give or take the weather and give or take how busy they are. But we have changed some of our operations tactics, you know, to try to keep an ambulance back. The big problem is that even if we have 3 ambulances, we can go 8 hours with 3 ambulances sitting in quarters doing nothing. And then in 5 minutes, we have 5 calls. You only have 3 ambulances, you can't handle the calls. If you have 2 ambulances, which will run 24/7, you have 3-4 calls, somebody's coming in to help you. That's why you have mutual aid contracts. We actually have them now. I secured them with Steuben County EMS. So Indiana, you know that, Williams County in Ohio, Emergent Health Partners, which is Life Care, Jackson, and then we have mutual aid contracts with Waldron, which they're a BLS agency, Somerset, and Hudson, or not Hudson yet. Even though Hudson comes in our area, we don't have a current mutual aid contract with them. We're working on that. Addison is gonna have theirs signed today by their fire board. So we're securing our, that's Lenawee County, but they cover.
No branch.
Branch County, that is Life Care.
Life Care?
Yes,
Okay.
Life Care runs there. And everybody has their own problems, because if you follow the national shortage that's out there, you have ambulance services that don't have an ambulance. That was another change, I'm glad you brought that up. What's going on now, and has been going on with this big shortage, is if Branch County needed an ambulance for Coldwater, and we only have 1 ambulance available, well, it comes in through dispatch, we take the call, we'd have to send our last one out. Or we don't do that anymore. If we only have 1 ambulance, we only service Hillsdale County. We will not go to anybody else's county. Hillsdale County is the only county that we're focused on servicing, and the hospital is in that. So we try to focus on servicing them. What we're doing, we're slowing down with that, trying to do it at our pace and not their pace, because we're trying to make sure we have coverage for you. It happens. I mean, just last week I was at a meeting, and I don't remember, there was like 7 calls that went on within that short time frame, and Hudson was here, Addison was here, Somerset was here, RU was running calls. That's just the nature of the beast. And if we tracked it, which we do, we can show you the numbers, which will be smaller because they run lower call volumes. We go into Hudson, we go into Somerset, we cover different areas. So we all contribute. It's just that we run a high call volume, so the numbers look bigger. But realistically, if you went into a percentage, which I have not done yet, it's probably not too far from that.
Well, that's good that you've answered that, because before the village passed and then those years went by, there was times, okay, I still got my one thing, I can hear the fire department get called out, and they'd be on the CPR in progress, and then they'd be going, Somerset's responding.
Yeah.
Okay, where's the ambulance around Reed or Hillsdale? But you've explained now that.
And you know, another thing with that is there are our own residents here in Hillsdale County. Just for example, if you have somebody that trips and falls, so you have an elderly person that falls quite often, and there's quite a few residents that contact 911, they call 911, and they need assistance getting up. The nice thing is in Hillsdale City, the fire department responds, but we have a lot of fire departments in this county that do not offer a first responders agency, you know, so they don't do first response. That ties up your ALS ambulance. So when we have to go and lift the patients up, which we have no problem doing, but usually when we're on something like that, there is another call going on, and it took us out of our area. So if we were in Hillsdale City and not having a Litchfield, and we're up in Scipio doing a lift assist, and then there's a call over here in Cambria or south of town and Hudson's closer, it's better for them to take the call because it's less of a response time, and we're just wanting people to come and help the residents. I don't look at it as my area, even though we have service areas, and a lot of, back in the day in other places I've worked, they don't want people in their coverage area. I just want our community taken care of. That's why I focus on the service area and our county, Hillsdale. So if there's a call in Hudson, we'll go. You come to us. We're not gonna ever say no to anywhere in Hillsdale County.
Okay, for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming, Keith. We have to move on the agenda. We've got a ton of stuff.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
We will we'll move on to item B, Hillsdale County Public Safety Radio Project. Chief, did you have something for this?
Yeah, just wanted to get an update and a little bit of information. I've heard a lot of stuff out there and some information coming from other township meetings where this has been discussed. This is not anything that happened quickly. I sit on the Emergency Telephone Services Board, and obviously I represent public safety for the city of Hillsdale. We began the move and talks approximately 5 years ago, knowing we were going to have to do this, and that there were issues with our current VHF, a very high frequency system that public safety used to operate in. There was a move several years ago where we were ordered by the FCC to narrowband, as they call it, our radio equipment at that time. Ours was able to do that, not everybody's was able to do that, some had to replace radios. Our VHF radio systems will no longer do that. Your FCC has talked about possibly doing that, mandated again. There's no set date or how many years or if and when, but we can't do it. Speaking just for the city of Hillsdale, our equipment, anybody on VHF around here is not going to be able to do it. We will be forced to go to 800 at that time. And if we're forced to do it, we're at the mercy of what anybody wants to charge us to do it. We've known that this is going to be a need that we're going to have to move to for several years. We're almost the last ones in the state to do it, or our surrounding tri-state area. We had our first coverage study approximately 5 years ago, knowing we were going to have to move into this direction. The state had built the Michigan Public Safety Communication System years ago. It's a statewide trunk system. It's the second largest in the world as far as trunk systems. It's tried and true. There's only 7 counties left in the state of Michigan that are not on this MPSC system. And even some of those have moved to the 800 UHF systems, but they've built standalone systems within the county. And some counties that have done that have reinvested and moved to the MPSC system and done that. So we have done all of our steps over a 5-year period of time, with even contracting consultants to come, more coverage studies, having radio companies come in to give presentations, developing the needs for not just the city but county-wide. And that's when the information was then brought to the county commissioners to analyze all this and try to come up with a strategy of how do we do this from a financial standpoint. The result of that was what's coming onto the ballot in August, which is the bond proposal. And just now speaking for the city of Hillsdale, again, I'm not promoting this, I'm giving you factual information. With us being on the VH system, the last time we narrowbanded, we had all of our neighboring counties, including our counties in the tri-state area and others all in our radios, we could communicate with them. We can no longer communicate with anybody outside of Hillsdale County. Not everybody in Hillsdale County. Some of you may know, may not know, the only law enforcement presence in Hillsdale County on the night shift is 1 to 2 state police cars and 2 cars from the city of Hillsdale for the entire county. We're leaving the city all the time. We do not have direct communications with those state police cars. That's an issue. We send the county one of our police cars out of the city of Hillsdale to go on a transport, a prisoner pickup, or for any reason leave this county. We no longer have communications with that car. That's an issue. Bigger issue is that car cannot communicate with anybody in whatever county they go into. They're solely left up to their cell phones. If they take one, we do not issue cell phones. We do not mandate cell phones. So that in itself is an issue, and that's just speaking of the police department. The Hillsdale County Fire Association did a large grant approximately 12 years ago and got all new VHF radio systems for every fire department in Hillsdale County. That's portables and mobiles, everything they needed. Those have aged out. That's a long time for electronics equipment. Some have already had to be replaced. We have to plan on the Hillsdale City Fire Department over the next year or two, a plan on replacing all of those it'll be done if this passes, but we have to have a plan. If it doesn't, that's a large investment we're gonna have to do, and I'm gonna call it an obsolete VHF public safety radio system. And then federal FCC can come and mandate a narrowband and all that new equipment that we just spent tens of thousands of dollars on is gone. We can't use it because it can't narrowband. So we knew this was coming up. And so we've been working on this for 5 years in the talking stage and bringing the county into it and bringing consultants into it. This came to the forefront when other counties that we have to communicate with, we knew were in talks, but they were in serious talks and they were moving into how do we finance this phase? So we were behind 5 years ago. They've all already moved to it. And we're still in the financial phase. How do we fund this? Knowing that soon in the future we're going to have to do this. So I just want to make it clear this is not an overnight thing. We've been working on this for years from a board standpoint in Hillsdale County. And me looking at this for the city of Hillsdale on what is fiscally best for us from an investment standpoint. Do we invest now? Do we invest a lot on our own in a few years to possibly have to go to the public a few years after that and say we need all the radio equipment? Again, I'm not saying we should, we shouldn't. I'm just giving you factual information of where we're at with public safety and emergency services communication. Our fire departments have issues communicating with each other. Our ambulances do when they go out in the county to other hospitals. We're there. We're an island. This is, I don't want to say typical for Hillsdale County, but it kind of is. But we're not in a good place. We're still operating on VHF. We have our issues locally here with intermittent communications issues with a lot of static, low volume. We will probably have to look here at maybe buying a new repeater and finding a more optimal place for it, so it's more optimal, if you will, knowing again that it might be a few years down the road where we've got to invest in the equipment, but that does not solve our issue for direct communications with the state police when we're operating at nighttime. That's something we are going to have to figure out. If this does not pass, we're going to have to come up with something. We are going to have to buy some compatible radios so we can have direct communication. That's a have to. That's a safety issue. And this goes all the way, this is an interoperability thing that the federal government wants through FEMA, through NIMS. It goes back to 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, where there was a national response to an area for a natural disaster, and nobody could communicate with anybody else. This is nothing that's happened over the last year. This is not a push. This is 20 years old push. And we've been working on it fairly diligently for 5 years here locally. There's critical infrastructure issues that are coming up if this does not pass that are going to be a huge investment for Hillsdale County. Thomas Whitaker, the director of 911 Center and Hillsdale County Emergency Management is here. If anybody has any specific technical questions about this, but speaking as a board member, I think I can speak intelligently enough that we have 2 towers in Hillsdale County that no longer meet federal guidelines. They're grandfathered, but if anything happens to them and they are obsolete and they have passed their service life, if anything happens to them, they have to come down. We cannot repair them. And new towers will have to be erected to meet the state Michigan Public Safety Communications System standards. And if I stand correct, when we talked this morning about $2 million per tower to meet that. We're looking at millions of investments, whether this passes or doesn't pass, but we know if it doesn't pass, a year from now it's more money, 2 years it's more money, that's just normal. And if we have to buy new stuff that's in the VHS radio spectrum realm in the next few years, because there's no demand, nobody else is trying to buy it, we have to expect those costs to be increased because it's just not anything that public safety is using anymore. I'll take any questions or if you have anything for Mr. Whitaker, but in a nutshell, I wanted to update you, give you some historical information from statewide, countywide, and the city of Hillsdale.
Thank you, good information, Chief. Any questions? Councilman Soha?
Thank you for that, Chief. Just to clarify, if the millage doesn't pass in August, and Doug, maybe you can speak to this, is there not enough money to get any of this done? There's no other set aside?
The surcharge money that comes into central dispatch from everybody's cell phone bill, that pays for all the operations and maintenance on our current infrastructure. It does not have money set aside for millions of dollars of tower building. If this does pass, the current surcharge money still will cover operations and maintenance. And there's benefits to the new towers and being on the state's MPSC system is all the firmware updates and everything will just come through the airwaves right to your radios and be done. It's nothing where you gotta take your radios out of service, call a radio company to come here with a laptop and hook it up and do all that stuff. It's upgraded technology, and this system's tried and true, and from an interoperability issue, it does affect the city of Hillsdale. We had the Vice President of the United States here at Hillsdale College where we had multiple law enforcement agencies, local, county, state, including the DNR. We had officers from other states, other counties, TSA, Secret Service. We couldn't communicate with anybody, and this is our city. This event was here. I was wrapped up into that for 6 days, and I couldn't communicate with anybody. That's an issue for me personally, as being in charge of public safety for the city of Hillsdale. We have to be able to communicate for public safety. Somehow we have to get there. And like I said, this is what we worked on for a half a decade, and this is what has led us to this point of what's coming on for a vote in August. Yeah, I'm not saying support it, don't support it. I'm just giving you factual information of what we need to be looking over, probably starting in another year here locally for the city of Hillsdale.
Thanks, Chief. Any more questions? Thank you for the information, Chief. We'll move on to communications petitions. Item C is an email from Comcast. Item D is modern waste surcharge notice. This is in the council packet for anybody that's interested. I would check it out. It says our continuing costs related to energy products have increased substantially. These increases are outside of our control. Effective July 1st, 2022, Modern Waste Systems will implement a company-wide variable surcharge line item on our customer's invoice. And the surcharge chart is in here for anybody who wants to check it out. Item E is a letter from Mitchell Research. It's Mitchell Research Center's June 2022 newsletter. It's got a bunch of cool stuff in it about some old Hillsdale buildings, and I would encourage everybody to check that one out too. Item F is a flooding claim notice. It's from Old Republic Aerospace. Ginger, did you have anything to add to this? No. Okay. Item G is Hillsdale Business Association Summer in the City flyer, which that's for August 5th. That's a Friday, 4 to 8 p.m. As usual, it's got a cruise-in, classic car show. There should be sidewalk sales from businesses down there. So I encourage everybody to attend that, get down and support our downtown. Item H is a letter from Ted Jansen, Cold Springs Park letter. Did you have something to add to your letter, Ted?
I'll just read it for everybody.
Okay.
Honorable Mayor Stockford and Hillsdale County Council members, weed removal was done in June at Cold Springs Park. This project complied with Eagle guidelines and no permit was required. The work was done by the boys from the Hillsdale County Youth Home. Approximately 45 man-hours was needed to clear the ponds of obnoxious weeds. The boys are very excited over their accomplishment and experienced great pride in their achievement. There were approximately 500 likes on Facebook with many encouraging comments, about 60, to the boys for their work. Attached below are before and after photos that you guys all have seen. It was a great thing the kids did, and they're so excited that they're going to be participating in the St. Joe River cleanup Saturday. And everybody will be signing waivers. Any questions?
Good job, Ted. Looks great.
Looks good, Ted.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Good job. Item I is a request from Myers request of service to territory. So pursuant to section 2, a copy, section 2 of the above referenced agreement, a copy of which is attached hereto. Please consider this letter as a written notice of Myers request for service to the territory, which for all intents and purposes will be June 21, 2022, which is when they dated the letter. So I think most everybody sitting up here, with the exception of Robert, we're on council when we approved the 425 agreement with Fayette Township.
Could you remind me, do we know what kind of store this will be? Is it gonna be a superstore, or just a grocery store, a gas station, pharmacy?
So our limited correspondences with Myers is it's going to be a smaller scale store than what they usually have, but it's gonna have everything that a Myers usually has. So just a little less floor space.
Is there any studies going on as far as traffic, as far as impact to the community?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, I guess one of the concerns, I mean, I voted to approve this, but, you know, it's trying to think about this. And you look at Coldwater, you know, we got a super Walmart and super Myers. We have downtown today.
Yeah.
When you look at Marshall, they have Niagara, they have a very private downtown. So I guess my concern is, you know, the pies weren't so big here. And, you know, so my concern is a big superstore, a big store, and we have local pharmacies now, we have other stuff.
Sure.
You know, he might play himself, so, you know, he's very competition with that.
Sure.
So I'm just curious, you know, if we can keep it in a box.
No, I mean, I know it's gonna be a smaller store than what they typically have. I'm sympathetic to what you're saying, and I have the same concerns myself. But since we already have the Walmart, like, I'm not too worried that bringing the Myers in is gonna be that different than when the Walmart came in.
Well, hopefully it's pretty good.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking too. And,
They're all competing against Amazon.
yeah, everybody's competing against Amazon now anyways.
So, I mean, you
Yeah.
guys are just really ready to store right here. and-
I know, I get it. I have personal vested interest in wanting to see this downtown succeed, and so do you, past the point of just being council members.
But
So-
I've got a question about the Coldwater thing. It's not a downtown tie-in. That town's picking up again.
Is it? I mean,
Oh, it's growing like you won't believe.
Oh, good. It's good.
I mean, with all the growth of Clemens and everything else that's going on there, it's crazy. over
Last
there.
time I was downtown,
It's picking up again, yes. But that's Coldwater, that's not
Yeah,
it.
right.
But I think this is a great thing that Myers wants to do with Wayne.
We've been waiting 5 years, so.
Yes. I mean, sometimes competition breeds lower prices too. And it brings in more products, so it's not trying to put somebody out of business, because we're not.
No, but they have much bigger buying power than some of the family restaurants.
Yeah.
They have like 500 million snow shovels, they have like 50.
No, I know, you're absolutely right, Councilman Stuchel, but, they don't have the buying power Walmart has. Walmart still is the company that can dictate the prices. That's the little bit of comfort that I have, is that we already have a Walmart here, which I can't imagine that people are gonna, for a little while, people will probably go into Myers just out of interest to see what it is. But, I mean, we all end up at Walmart at some time or another, but I know people like yourself and myself and probably everybody in this room makes an extra concerted effort to try to support the downtown businesses too. And I think we have a community that really is going to do that. And I think that, you know, whatever happened downtown in the 90s and early 2000s, I think we've turned the tide on that. And I just feel like our community has too many people working for the downtown to let a Meyer come in and just take that all away from it.
I don't think that's their intention in the first place, really, Myers. I really don't.
I think it's encouraging because a company like Myers does a considerable amount of market research
Right.
before they go anywhere. So I think that it means a lot when they say this community can support a Myers.
But when you go to, just my personal thing, when you go to Myers, whether it be in Jackson, Coldwater, whatever else, the shelves are still empty. You you go look, you're looking for certain things that just not there. That's COVID, and that's the effects of it. So I'm hoping maybe this one will be different, but I don't know how it's gonna be any different. I mean, every store you go to, there's always stuff that's not on the shelves. It's frustrating, it's just hopefully, when we go shopping, we have to go to 2 different stores, we have to go to Myers or Walmart to get everything we need, because if they don't have beer, we have to go try it. I just hope someday things get back to normal, but I'm happy to see they want to come here, I think it's good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, well, we moved, and you will remember, Councilman Sharp,
Yes, I will.
we moved heaven and earth to make it happen, so
Yes, we did.
it's nice to see it happen. Any more discussion on that? We'll move on then. We've got no introduction, adoption of ordinances, we've got no old business, so we'll move into item A of new business. Heritage Association of Hillsdale County gaming license approval. The Heritage Association of Hillsdale County, a charitable organization operated in the state of Michigan, has requested a charitable gaming license from the state for their 1920 Great Gatsby event held on October 29th, 2022. In doing so, it is required they receive approval by the city council recognizing them as a charitable nonprofit organization operating within the city. Sounds like it's gonna be a really cool event too. Do you have anything to add, Councilman Stuchel?
Well, just to hear that one, just because here we have a good middle here, like the minor statute, great statutes, and they are raising money for another statute.
Yep. So all good stuff.
Yep.
Entertain a motion to approve, give them the approval that they need.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Stuchel, seconded by Councilman Briner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Looking forward to that event. We'll move on to item B, Airport MDOT crack filling contracts 2022. 742. Ginger, did you want to take this or? Okay.
Well, we're due for crack sealing, we do that about every 3 years. And it's the state, has a great program where they pay 95% and we pay 5%. Feds pay 90 and 5%. Right now, it's coming in at 21,000, but that's a placeholder, it could be less than that, so our portion would be 1,050. Scadeller is the contractor. The state chose them because of their competitive bids. They'll probably be doing about 12 airports this summer. And we'll probably get ours done about September.
Sounds like good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Any questions, Ginger?
About the same time as the airport show.
After the airport.
After.
So yeah, 9/11, everybody come to the flying. It's gonna be good.
Thank you, Ginger. Entertain a motion to enter into, an agreement to do crack filling.
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morsey, seconded by Councilman Stuchel. Can I have a roll call vote, City Clerk?
Councilperson Briner,
Yes.
Horsey,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Pratt, Sizer,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Stoll.
Yes.
7-0 approved. Resolution 3510.
3510.
Correct.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, we will move on to item C, 2022 major and local street projects. So I see Kristen and Jake are both here. City staff developed and requested bids for the paving and miscellaneous work associated with the approved special assessment district projects on Maury, South Howell to Walnut, South Howell to Hallett, to the south city limits of the street, and then Linwood as well, from South Howell to Reading. As this was a late year bid, we requested bids for either a fall 22 or a spring 23 project. 7 bids were received on June 27th as a result of our advertisement for bids and are presented below. Looks like barely anybody, well, no, excuse me, there's 3 no bids for spring and 2 no bids for fall. Nashville Construction, oh, this is for fall too. Kristen, do you have anything to add to it?
Well, as you said, we did get these bids in late June. We are recommending that we award contract to Nashville Construction as they're eager to get started in the middle part of August, which will have us completed by the end of October. We bid it as a spring and a fall because we bid this late year, so generally you don't know who's got busy contract or busy schedules, and luckily they had an opening in their schedule so that we can get it done this year.
Sure.
So what kind of references did you get from?
I've actually worked with Nashville on other projects, so I personally have experience with them, and they do good work.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be a major disruption up there, of course. Do you anticipate it being a disruption to the hospital in terms of like emergency vehicles being able to get into the hospital at a?
It'll be similar to what we just went through with the water main construction. Because we're putting in some new storm sewer on Howell and on Maury, we're gonna have to do some lane closures.
Okay.
But they should be short duration. We're communicating with the hospital, so they're aware of the situation. The rest of it's gonna be kinda like we did in the northeast part of town last year, where we're milling and resurfacing and doing some concrete work, so that should not be a disruption to them and their movements. The only time we really will be a problem is when we have that intersection closed.
All right, well, this is great. We'll get it done this fall, and, they definitely have the best price, so entertain a motion to approve the bid, get started on this.
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Sharp. Can I have a roll call, city clerk?
Councilperson Morrissey,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Sizer,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Soha,
Yes.
and Briner.
Yes.
7-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move on to item E, proposed 2023 street assessment district for street project. Kristen, while you're at the podium, you want to take this?
Yep, as we've been doing in the past few years, we've been establishing special assessment districts for road projects. We need to begin the process for the project that we're planning for next year, which is a large, about 1.2 miles worth of work in the Westwood area. It would include Westwood Drive, Sumac, Picardy, Azalea, Corona, Scenic Drive, Westwood Street from Cold Springs to Lewis, Cold Springs Circle, Highland, and Glendale. This proposal is basically for you to give guidance for me to start getting estimates together and project drawings together to then take the next step to talk about special assessment districts.
Well, we gotta do Westwood and that neighborhood down there, it's falling apart, so.
This project will also include sewer work, storm sewer, or sanitary sewer work, water main work, and storm sewer work. So it's an all-encompassing, pretty much a calendar year project.
Yeah. It's gonna be great. Any questions for Kristen about this? Councilman Soha?
Is this the only project you're looking at for next year? Is that, I mean, it's pretty,
We have,
I understand that.
I would engage the idea of having a staff, but, no. If we do not get the B grant, then yes, this would be, we will have other work going on, because we are kind of still applying for grants, and some of that stuff is still in the works, so that may be going on with this as well. But, so I can't say that, no, this would be the only thing, but this will be for sure the only thing, if everything progresses with bonding and special assessments.
we've got all that chip seal work we're trying to get done too.
Well, that's only if we get awarded that grant.
Yeah.
But yes, so if that grant were to be awarded, which we should know sometime mid to end of August, then that would be going on as well.
Thank you.
We have a lot of work slated for the city for next year, in addition to those two projects.
I mean, we're kicking off it's absolutely, it's incredible, the amount of work that we've been able to complete in the last few years and the amount of work that we're taking on, so. Entertain a motion to, give Kristen the go-ahead to start getting whatever she needs in order to do these projects.
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Stuchel. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And we will move on to item E, citywide traffic signals upgrades. Kristen, once again.
So this, as part of the HIP COVID relief funds through the small urban program at the state, we're receiving about little under $41,000 in funds. We worked with the state to come up with projects that would meet the criteria for utilization of these funds. And we slated needing a radio repeater for City Hall so that our DPS, that's the DPS radio, correct, Jason? Could reach out to all the parts of the city because we have issues, much like the chief was talking about with radio, ability to communicate with our staff around town. That's about $5,400 worth of work. And then we wanted to put the balance of those funds towards upgrading the 2 traffic signals at Bacon and Howell, and McCollum and Howell. They're very old. The controllers and the signals are getting to the point where they're not serviceable anymore and the boxes need to be replaced. In addition, we would also upgrade the mechanics and electronics for the signals, or the flashers at Spring and Lewis and Hillsdale and Fayette. We will also upgrade these from 8-inch diameter signal faces to 12, and they will also go from incandescent bulbs to LED bulbs, so we'll use less energy with every time the bulb comes on. So we are requesting the utilization of these funds to purchase all the signals, materials, electronics, boxes, wiring, and then the BPU has graciously accepted the responsibility of installing these signals once we get these materials.
Well, thanks to the BPU.
We will be using a little bit of the major street fund for the balance of the costs for this, as we were looking at a little bit more, but we felt it necessary to get these boxes and controllers replaced as well as the signal beds.
Okay, any questions for Kristen about this? Entertain a motion to award the purchase of the traffic signal materials and electronics from Carrier and Gable of Farmington Hills, Michigan in the amount of $47,051. Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Soha. Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilperson Sharp?
Yes.
Sucho?
Yes.
Sizer?
Yes.
Mayor Stockford?
Yes.
Councilperson Soha?
Yes.
Reiner?
Yes.
And Morrissey?
Yes.
7-0 is approved.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move on to item F, City Hall chiller replacement. Jake,
Good evening.
Jason. Sorry, Bottom.
You're all right.
We went to school. No, I've only known the guy 30 years.
30
but-
years.
Go ahead, Jason.
So last several years, we've been combating the aging air conditioner chiller here at City Hall. Multiple years of just kind of living it by. So with help with the city engineer, we put out some bids. Lowest bid of JC Mechanical for $86,200. We'd recommend for, there is an addition in here too. If you look to the right, there's an additional charge of $23.80 for the glycol. It's an antifreeze, if you will. We just don't know where we're at yet for where we need that mixture to be at, so we just wanted to throw it in there just in case we get our mixture right. So that puts us at a total cost of, 2 barrels. So it puts us at a cost of $99,584.
Okay. Any questions for Jason? Councilman Soha?
Notice that's what the JC Mechanicals asked. Were the other 2 bids including those ads?
Correct. So the first one, the 8625, the other quotes did not include that in theirs. That was a line item that JC Mechanical put in separately, which is it's going to help the system from short cycling, so turn it on, turn it off, especially on the hot days, where it's turning off, turn on, turn off. It's just hard for electronics on. So they included that in there. And then the second edition there, the 7210, that was not included in the bid, but we did confirm with them that they would throw that second pump in at no additional cost to us. It was just an oversight in the bidding process on their end.
Do we need to, motions and seconds for this? As I said, bid for the project, JC Mechanicals in the amount of $86,200. Also recommends we approve add 1 for the installation of the buffer tank. Can we just do it in one motion?
The buffer tank is already included in the 94,000. The only thing Jason is adding is the 2 barrels of polypropylene glycol that we need.
Correct.
So in your motion, you'll need to change that to the 99,000 number that Jason gave you. We don't need to add the 600. That add is already included in our recommendation.
Give me that total amount again, Jason.
$99,584.
Entertain a motion to approve, to award the bid to JC Mechanical Services of Tecumseh, Michigan, for a total project amount of $99,584. Councilman Soha?
I don't understand all those numbers. I don't understand what the numbers are.
Okay. So the 86,200 is the purchase of the chiller and the labor, materials, and equipment together. With the 86, I'm sorry, you gotta add the $8,625 on top of it, $86,200. That comes up with the 94,825. And I gotta throw 2 barrels of the propylene glycol in there too, which is 2,300.
Yeah. We need a 60/40 mixture, and that's an unmixed price. So we'll need to have 2 barrels to get our mixture amounts right.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Stuchel, do I have a second? Motion on the floor from Councilman Stuchel, seconded by Councilman Soha. Can I?
One other question.
Go ahead.
Timeline?
Timeline, it's going to be, it won't be till next spring when we get it probably. Perfect.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Stuchel, seconded by Councilman Soha to award the bid to JC Mechanical and to spend a total amount on the project of $99,584. May I please have a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilperson Stuchel.
Yes.
Sizer.
Yes.
Mayor Stockford.
Yes.
Councilperson Soha.
Yes.
Reiner.
Yes.
Morrissey.
Yes.
And Sharp.
Yes.
We have 7-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move into item G, Americans with Disabilities Act Policy Revision. What's going on with this, Jason?
This is a ADA reasonable modification policy for the dollar right. It's a standard form. It's an update of all the contact information for any ADA compliance or reasonable modifications to assist with accessibility. Basically, we went through and just changed all the contacts for HR and myself on these. They will be posted in all the buses for all riders. If they have any complaints, concerns, or any recommendations how to make the buses more accessible.
So we're just updating the contact information in case somebody needs some sort of reasonable accommodation on that. Okay. Any questions to Jason? Entertain a motion. Motion on the floor from Councilman Reiner, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Skip the street sweeper. We will move into item I, DPS compact tractor purchase. Jason?
Yes, sir. So the compact tractor, as I put in here, it really is one of the most diverse pieces of equipment we have. From winter maintenance operations, street operations with sweeper, and then obviously the last couple of years, or last year I should say, we put it into leaf collection outfit as well. The current tractor we have, it's getting old, 21 years old, quite a bit of hours on it, and it definitely is ready for upgrade. We received 3 different quotes from 3 different vendors. We recommend the John Deere for a cost of $23,230 against the New Holland, which is $22,450. The John Deere is not the lowest quote. The New Holland did not quote with what wheel weights on it. They quoted with the tractor to have loaded tires. The problem with loaded tires are if it comes off the rim, gets damaged, you gotta take a machine shop to get repaired. We cannot do that at our facility. So we wanted the metal weights to hang on the side, which was a $630 option. So it puts that back at the John Deere's the close. as the lowest bidder. The old John Deere that we have, we're gonna take that and run it down to, the rec department as their tractor is a 1996 John Deere as well. It's getting pretty old. It's time for that one to go as well.
Okay. What do we do with the 96?
The 96 will probably get put up for sale. It has a mower attachment with it, no more, it's just two-wheel drive, it's a four-wheel steer. All the four-wheel steer on is starting to get dilapidated on, it's getting real weak.
Okay. Any questions for Jason about this? Entertain a motion to purchase the John Deere for the cost of $23,222.30.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Briner. Can I have a roll call, city clerk?
Councilperson Zeiser.
Yes.
Mayor Stockford.
Yes.
Councilperson Soha.
Yes.
Briner.
Yes.
Morrissey.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
And Stuchel.
Yes.
7-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you,
Thank
Jason.
you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
We'll move on to our final item in new business, right-of-way request for farmer's market. Chief. See, we've got a lot of representatives of the farmer's market here tonight. Thanks for coming, everyone.
In short, they've been displaced from their location they've used for many years at County Courthouse parking lot. The construction project advanced, moved ahead, so on short notice, they were displaced. They reached out to me about using the city street. McCollum Street between Broad and Howell is one we close frequently for every parade, almost all downtown events. This being Saturday morning, I signed the traffic control order, I believe, Thursday of last week, which made it effective as a temporary. They operated there Saturday morning. I was in contact with Jason from the DPS, Kelly from Economic Development, who both thought there would be no issues with that location. And they ran it there Saturday morning without issue. And so we move forward with a request for every Saturday morning through the month of October for them to operate at that location.
On McCollum.
I'm gonna call them, and they worked with the HBA for the liability insurance certificate. That's all in order. And it worked out well on Saturday.
Yeah, I heard from a couple people that went down there, said they thought it was nicer than it usually is, so it sounded pretty cool.
I love the location where it was, up by the fountain and stuff, and the pathway and everything, it worked great. I mean, it was different, but it looked good, and it was safe. There were no issues there, it looked really good. So I don't see a problem with it at all.
Yeah. You guys happy there?
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Mary.
So hi, I'm Mary Rodriguez. I want to also thank Doug for being here tonight. It was a very short notice kind of thing for us to do this. But our market is getting bigger, and there weren't necessarily issues, but it might be a nice thing down the road to consider Howell Street right in front of the courthouse, just because we have a lot of farmers, we have a lot of vendors that need level ground to have a proper setup, and if we could eventually close in front of, I'm thinking Howell in front of the courthouse, we could allow more people because we have a wait list for people who want to actually participate.
So we talked about that,
Yes.
what, last week? And I thought, hell, that would take a bunch of parking spots away down Howell Street, but then, we thought about how accessible the businesses down there would be. If the farmer's market was in there, you could just go from a stand into Jelly Beans, or, so.
I feel like the foot
Sounds
traffic
interesting.
for businesses, and if we're talking about trying to help it downtown
Yeah,
with Myers coming in. First of all, the HBA has been a phenomenal asset to this town. We do the parade, we do summer in the city. Those are the kind of groups that are gonna help your downtown do better. I don't know anything better than the farmer's market that actually brings people from outside cities. We have a customer who comes from Ohio every week. So it would be something to consider to eventually close off Howell if, public safety was fine with it, because we could offer even more, and we won't damage the lawn on the courthouse. So for right now, it's really nice.
What we can do right now is we can kick that to Public Safety Committee to review, and right now, we'll just go with the recommendation that the chief has to close off McCollum, and we can talk about that more, chief, and
This was quick.
I understand,
So,
I understand that, but we'll keep it how it is right now, but does public safety wanna have a meeting and discuss?
Services.
That's,
Um,
public safety, not public services, public safety.
I think we're all probably on the same page, it would just be getting with business owners on, whether or not they want Bath Street closed down on a Saturday morning, because you do have a local breakfast place down there.
Also consulting with chief about how he thinks that it would affect as far as safety wise goes, so.
But when we do like the car show
I think we're
or
having a meeting in.
sidewalk sale, the same way, we close that section down and it works really, years ago, they shut that street down and that place was packed. Years ago, when we had businesses.
this
that
is
had
all
sidewalks.
doable, it's just communication, and like I said, we did this on Thursday, and a
It
lot of
worked
people
well.
were here on Friday, this was very quick, so it doesn't mean it can't change.
And something to consider, if I may, that after the court, the reason why we're displaced is because there's gonna be things in the parking lot. If we end up going to Howell, that parking lot for the court will be open, so people can park there as well, eventually. So say this was next year, that would be something to think about in those
Yep.
meetings.
Definitely something to explore.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, chief.
So move forward.
So move what?
Is there a motion made or?
Entertain a motion to
Yeah.
approve the traffic control order. So moved.
Yeah, I support
In
it.
support? Motion on the floor from Councilman Briner, seconded by Councilman Sharp to approve the, traffic control order. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we've got no proclamations, appointments, or other business, so we'll move into general public comment. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium. And you may speak on whatever you like at this moment. Podium's now open.
Just a couple things. Joseph Hendy, 181 Main Street. Looks like Hillsdale County's got some trouble coming with the 2020 election. I think I sent you all a affidavit and the Rumble video on the what's going on, but I guess we've had some, may or may not have had some illegal doings by our clerks. Don't know about you, Ken. But, looks like there's trouble coming, Mr. Thompson. And my second thing I wanted to talk about was email communication between me and Mr. Greg Stuchel over here, Councilman Stuchel. I didn't appreciate the way you talked to me, Mr. Stuchel, and he ended the email with FJH. My name's Joe Hendy. Don't talk to me like that, Mr. Stuchel. If you ever do it again, I'll print out the damn emails and I'll make sure the whole damn town knows about it. Even your damn church. You don't talk to me like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any more public comment?
Penny Swan, Ward 4. I just want to thank Mayor Stockford, and I know Mr. Mackey had a big work behind the scenes with the mayor and anybody else that had a hand in it. I know there was a lot of work to it. I went back and looked at all the newspaper articles, so it wasn't something easy, and I think it's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. I think Bruce, did you go to some Fayette Township meetings?
Oh, yeah, they know me well.
Bruce went to some Fayette Township meetings, Brian Watkins did a bunch of stuff, and I'm sure a lot of council did a lot of things during that time. Any more public comment? Okay.
Jack McLean. Last time I was here was June 6th. It was kind of heated amongst council and the people of the visitors because of the different people's sexual preferences. Let's say after that happened, can that picture be passed around, please? After the meeting, I was standing down front talking with a couple people. Someone come up behind me, I'm gonna say a city employee, I don't know if it is or not. And I guess they tapped me on the back. This picture is a bruise on my back 2 days later. So that tells you what kind of a tap it was. When I filed a police report, they actually said I had a red spot the next day. That was 2 days later. Right at the moment, I'm waiting for the Attorney General to get back with what they're gonna do about it. In some of the comments that were said, it said, this was some of the report from the person that did this. McLean had begun to speak, make a comment regarding short-term leasing. I've never said that word up here. I don't know where that come from. I guess that kind of fills in on what people think they hear, or what they think bothers them, I guess. I'll guarantee I've never said anything about short-term leasing in this meeting. And you can bring up my meeting from the 6th. That being said, also it was indicated that they felt that I was making comments towards them, which I never said short-term leasing, so I'm not sure what they're talking about. I did turn it over to the city police, which they can't do anything about it. I turned it over to the sheriff, which they can't really do anything about it either, so that's why I'm going to the Attorney General, and we'll see what happens. I just think if the feeling is not mutual, I understand there's a lot of sexual attraction towards short, fat men, but if that feeling is not mutual, then you shouldn't be touching that person. And that's how I feel about it. I mean, I have no attraction to that person. I don't know why they do that to me other than I'm short and fat. I don't know. But that was quite a meeting they had on the 6th. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Any more public comment?
Mark Nichols, Adams Township Supervisor. I just have a couple of observations this evening. Go back about 20 years, there was some airport expansion work done. There was quite a bit of planning about that and all, and I can't remember the exact year, but during the course of that, we lost our stately pines in the cemetery at the east end of the runway on Lake Pleasant Road. And initially there was, as I recall, there was kind of a promise of replacement trees, perhaps ones that wouldn't grow so tall. And then I think the project progressed to beyond when I was in office, and the next supervisor, maybe negotiator, whatever, we ended up with a white fence around there and no trees. So the cemetery looks kind of stark. What I find interesting, and I don't know the particulars, it's just kind of observation, and I've never had a chance to talk with the airport manager, never met her face to face before, so maybe we'll talk before we leave tonight. Is that the east end of the runway, you're getting quite the growth of trees. So I find it a little ironic that you take our nice trees in the runway and then let trees even closer to the runway, at least in that proximity, have considerable growth. And if they get too big, it costs a lot of money, considerable amount of money to take care of them. So just an observation. The second is on the half staff of flags. I listen to the news, but it seems like our flags are half-staffed an awful lot. As it turns out, I think it was a legitimate reason for them to be half-staffed today, but it seems sometimes that the governor will order the flag half-staffed for school shootings, maybe even in another state. I think that's entirely illegitimate, to my knowledge, with the U.S. Code. I'm not aware of laws that give her that authority. And I don't know that it's really a mandate as much as a suggestion, and we jump to follow it. Being conservative around here, most of us, I think, believing in gun rights, I think we should think if we do that sort of thing, because my opinion is that the left likes to take every advantage of these types of incidents, and subtly influence the people to be against guns. So I would encourage the flag, number one, if it's half-staff all the time, it kind of minimizes the significance of it. I've always thought in my mind growing up that that's for important things, and that flag goes half-staff. Important people, people of position. In this case, today, I think it was for a fallen police officer, and that is within the scope of the code. But I would encourage the half-staff not to be done when it's not necessary, when it's not really within the law, just because the governor said so. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk to you this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Any more public comment?
Hello, Joshua Palladino, Charles Street. My neighbor, Dave Rudnick, wants to throw a, what do you call it, block party. Still, he needs to pay $1,500 for these barriers plus insurance. I think he was talking to the road guys. We just want to get together and hang out with our neighbors. Not done enough, you know, in the electronic age. So if you guys could make that happen somehow, I don't know, I can throw up some 2x4s, a little poster board. So I don't know, maybe I could talk to someone after about how to get that going. I also want to make a comment about the library stuff. I know I'm months late, but it's going to come back because they're pushing this intellectual freedom amendment, which basically takes the idea of the First Amendment and throws it out the window and says there's this entirely new idea of what rights you have to collect information. So, I mean, the basic premise is that if the city doesn't actively affirm and purchase the books of activist organizations and of political groups, that constitutes censorship now. This means the city has no independence. This means the city has no authority to curate its own selection. We have to follow a diversity, equity, and inclusion standard, which means that we don't get to curate our own books. And if you don't purchase them, of course, you are a censor and a book burner and a bigot. Yeah, the MLA, the Michigan Library Association, sent me a fact sheet in response to some things that I said. I wanted to read one part. What is censorship is the question. Is restriction better than censorship? Restriction still infringes upon the intellectual freedom rights of community members and is often done based on age. All people have the right to intellectual freedom, including minors. When materials are restricted, children and teenagers are being denied the rights on the basis of age. Yes, obviously. That is how rights are distributed, on the basis of age. This blows my mind. In Michigan specifically, librarians and teachers are exempt from a state law prohibiting dissemination of sexually explicit materials to minors because this dissemination is part of their jobs as educators and upholders of intellectual freedom. When I always think of the intellect, I think of the mind. Apparently, there's an intimate connection with the genitals now. And then last thing. Librarians who do collection development consider how their choices affect the intellectual freedoms of their communities when they select materials. Once again, what is intellectual freedom? The right to have information given to you and purchased by the state. This includes ensuring the community has access to materials on a wide variety of topics, from a wide variety of perspectives, even if members of the community disapprove of certain topics or perspectives themselves. It is important to know that pornography is not a legal term and has no legal criteria, which is why censors like to use it to describe everything from developmentally appropriate sex education books for children to books that include depictions or discussions of queer sexualities. So that's intellectual freedom. Discussions of queer sexuality, the state must purchase it, the city must purchase it, and curate their collection in this manner. Otherwise, they are censoring this material. Of course, we need to have no books in the library. I looked up the law. You guys can abolish that with a simple majority vote. There's absolutely no statute that requires a library or reading room. I think that would be terrible. the city has no higher obligation than ensuring that its citizens can read and write. And of course, we're failing, declining in that constantly. Half of our high school grads functionally illiterate, 7th grade reading level. I mean, but the library has no concern about reading and writing and the basis of being a citizen, but a wide variety of views, which of course, that means you have to put some sort of cap on it at some point, right? Bring certain views, and they're gonna say, well, we didn't mean those ones, right? So they're gonna slip a moral judgment in the back door while saying, no, we don't make moral decisions, wide variety of viewpoints. But then you bring some to the table and they say, well, that's not what we meant. So of course they have a moral judgment, all these people make moral judgments, but then they act, you're putting your personal beliefs here. No, I want a children's section, it's apolitical, nonpartisan, and non-sexual, very simple. And I want to curate our collection according to the community standards, which is acceptable under Michigan law and under Michigan charter. I would also encourage the council on more of a functional point to, from now on, we need to bring in the board appointees and committee members and chat with them, right? They need to be accountable to you guys. You need to know what they believe before they're on the board. No more up and down votes. We just gotta make sure we know what's going on with these boards and that you guys ultimately are in control. I'm not elected, right? This is absurd that these people have such control over hundreds of thousands of dollars in the budget and no one knows who they are. And then they're elected up or down. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Any more public comment?
Robert Eichler, Scipio Township. First off, yes, I have a little disagreement what's going on with the new monies towards the village of these towers. Right now, no. Absolutely. No. Absolutely, we need them. Yes. You know, they definitely should get installed. The reach out that they've got for that system is pretty damn good. The other is, I don't see the money that's going into the senior citizens millage there, senior center. No, that can be cut down to anywhere 28 to 34 cents, 1/3 of what it actually would have been at $1. The value is not ready at this time. November, you could bring it back for a much better discussion, and I don't think the county commissioners, and I believe we have one here, he could also probably tell you a little bit better, that I don't think they should have the control of whether or not it goes up another 1.2, whatever it might be, 0.046, who knows. I don't think they should have the control. It should be the people. So, no, I'm kind of tripping in that. The other is, this is a Michigan Rules Professional Conduct Disciplinary Procedures. I just had to get it from way back in the school days. I had an incident that happened at the county commissioners with Brad Benzing, and I came into this city to give my statement, which I was asked to do as a witness, and I wasn't given the opportunity to sign what I wanted, as well as I wasn't able to write it out. I was told not to. I was told that they would ask the questions and they would write it out, and I could never see the answers of it. So, being that said, I'd like to say to the chief, since he's here tonight, I'd like the opportunity to come in and have it on film that I've actually said this, and get it over with, because I didn't find, let's just say, the procedures and conduct professional of Detective Martin not to submit this stuff and send it in. So again, but thank you very much for your time. You guys got a lot on your hands.
Thank you, Bob. Any more public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the podium. We've got Dave's on vacation, so no city manager report, so council comment. Anybody have anything? Councilman Soha?
A couple things. Mr. Paulino, I believe it's wish Mr. Jansen would stay. I read his letters when he submits them. I don't understand why he has to read them to us. I like what you said, Mr. Mayor. Do you have anything to add? I would appreciate it. Maybe that would be something we encourage moving forward. He does it every week now. It's great. I don't understand it. As far as the 911 and the towers, I'm generally opposed to new taxes, but the chief's statement in the case of the 911 800 megahertz and our community being able to communicate, I mean, that's embarrassing with the vice president's visit. I have no idea. I'm sorry you had to go through that like that. I just find an exception to my general opposition to this, and I think I'm going to encourage voting for the millage in this particular instance. And then lastly, there's been some rumors matriculating online about the Kiefer House and CL Enterprises not paying, and that's all not true. And it's no basis in fact. The reason that the trash can and the thing was removed is because demolition's been completed. I spoke to Mr. Watson of CL Enterprises Friday last week, and he assured me he had just pulled another $250,000 draw to pay his contractors, and that things from their perspective are moving swiftly and excellent progress, and that they're going to start the reconstruction phase. So anybody that's pushing this stuff online, I would ask them to immediately cease and actually apologize for spreading misinformation. And then, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Salah. Any more council comment?
I just want to make a comment on
Councilman Stucci.
the July parade. My wife and I walked down, we were not living the parade, but we walked downtown Sunday. Comments to the public, it was the street was clear. The trash cans were pretty full, it was full on. Everybody did a good job of taking care of the trash. There was a few candy wrappers in there, but overall, they left the streets pretty clear, so congratulations, thank you, public.
Good deal. Good stuff. Any more council comment? Nope. Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.